السلام عليكم. لا تنسوا الاعجاب بالفيديو والاشتراك في القناة تشجيعا لنا لنستمر بنشر المزيد ان شاء الله.
But don't you think that people feel not wrong, but they have to feel? You think they don't think it's wrong?
No, absolutely not. Like,
Okay.
If you take any time during war as well, right? People do terrible things which they think it's right.
Yeah. Now, what I'm saying is this, right? If you say to me the morality is subjective, yeah, the morality is subjective, like you said, then you, by default, you're saying there is no good or evil. You cannot make a moral judgment, anyways. If it's a construct of the mind, how can you make a moral judgment and say, I disagree, this is bad, I think this is good?
Most people, you're not going off what like you think, it's what most people think. So for incest,
So that's the principle.
well, most people think it's not okay to have sex with your sister.
Most people in China think it's okay to make concentration camps and kill Muslims.
Yeah.
Most people in Germany, they elected Hitler and the Nazi party wanted to kill the Jews. Does it make it right?
No.
But you said most people.
It's different.
Why is different?
Because fundamentally, having sex with a close relative.
No. I'm saying the principle now. What is the principle to determine what is right and wrong? I said to you, if the morality is subjective, that would mean that there's no
You're trying to say use a contraceptive and you're never going to have a kid?
No.
That's not a possibility either. You know, like,
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying what makes one thing right and one thing wrong. Look, think about the principle, not the example itself. Principle I'm saying is the following. If morality is subjective, I cannot make a moral judgment to begin with. Meaning, I cannot say X is right, X is wrong. I can't. Why? Because there is no right or wrong. There's just my opinion. Or your opinion, or your opinion, or your opinion, or anyone else's opinion. Right? Therefore, you cannot even say that a pedophile is wrong, or eating your baby at breakfast is wrong. You cannot say that's wrong. You cannot say what Hitler did was wrong. You have to say it was right for him. But you don't believe that. You believe it was wrong, and you believe it was wrong, right? Therefore, morality is not subjective. Morality has to be objective, collective, within the people. Now, you can have a subjective morality, convincing yourself with it, but you cannot base moral judgments if you adopt that principle.
do you not think, though, that the morality of those terrible decisions just changed? Shifted? Yeah.
You believe morality is relative.
As in, like, time moved and then people decided
That's
to do
moral
that.
relativism. You believe morality is relative, it changes.
I think that as countries who have like evolved systematically in terms of like religion, the countries that are the most progressive and most kind of futuristic and future focused and most equal are the ones that are the least religious, who are kind of post-religion. And I think that Islamic countries are thinking too much about the religion, and it's like oppressing them, holding them back.
Sure. I
think the least religious countries, think about the Nordic countries, are the ones like Human Development Index. The UN are saying these are the top countries to live in on the planet.
Let me answer that point. Can you define science to me, scientific method?
That's a hard thing to say. Like, define science.
No, scientific method. What is a scientific method? What is the definition of the scientific method?
It's performing analysis, an experiment, and recording results, analyzing the data, and
That's the explanation. Do you know the definition?
performing that multiple times.
The definition is studying the physical world. So it's limited to the physical world and empiricism, right? Studying the physical world through experimentation, repeatability, and falsification. Who developed that method? A Muslim. Okay.
I believe it. Yeah.
Do you know Razi, which was a physician? His statue is in France. They're learning from him. Avicenna, they've been teaching his books for 16 editions in here in Oxford. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are these people? They lived in an Islamic empire that ruled half the world. Do you know why? They were following your religion.
Yeah.
So following your religion does not mean you're gonna wait step by step.
Yeah.
Does not mean you're gonna go backwards. In fact, it's the complete opposite. Because every country you spoke about right now, these Muslim countries that you're referring to, are not applying Islam. They're not ruling by the Islamic commandments. In fact, them moving into liberalist values is what pushed them away. When the Queen here did not have a bath for a month, Muslims were the most civilized people, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Islam is what civilized us. When you look at the Quran, when you look at the Hadith, the prophetic tradition, you see things that are mentioned there that we're just learning today. So Islamically, we've been always following what we're following. We didn't change.
I get it, but I think we live in an interesting country, or we lived in an interesting country, and there's a lot of kind of similarities between Catholicism and Islam. And
But you haven't read the Quran. How do you know?
Ireland,
Man, you haven't read the Bible, have you?
I have.
The whole thing?
I have.
Man, how did you get through
You
all
just
that?
made that assumption.
Did you read the Old Testament?
I read about a third of the Old Testament.
It's
and
insane.
It's got to be one of the most boring things
I know.
I've ever read.
I would agree. I would agree.
Then why did you
I would
finish it?
agree. Because I have to be, I have to give the courtesy to a Christian if I speak to him.
Right, but
That if I make a judgment, I already know your
You're already
scripture.
chatting to us, right? And you understand that you're never going to convince everyone that, you know, your ideas are the ones that...
But that's not my goal. My goal is to make you realize that your position is not logical, is not consistent. That's it.
That's exactly what you're trying to do, and you're trying to base it off reading the entire Bible. But it's clearly not going to work, because I'm not going to be convinced.
Did I use the Bible?
But you read it.
I didn't use a verse of the Bible.
I'm just saying, it's so boring.
So Ireland is a post-religion society. We were an extremely Catholic country only maybe 15, 20 years ago. And since then, Ireland has become a much more open-minded, progressive and liberal place. And from what my parents have said, a much happier place. People can go and do what they like.
I agree.
They can enjoy themselves. They can love who they want. And people honestly are not oppressed by the Catholic Church. They're not sinning all the time.
I agree.
They're happier people. And I think Islamic countries.
No, now I disagree.
Would be well-to-do to follow that path.
Okay.
But I think you guys are maybe 40, 50 years away in that part of the course.
Okay, now to answer you, I
think it's going to be like 2040 until
I
you
completely,
become liberal.
I completely agree with what you said.
Yeah.
Because I believe Catholicism was imposed forcefully on the Irish people, and Christianity
By
was.
the Italians.
Okay, but Muslims did not have the same issue. Therefore, when Muslims were at the peak of their civilization, it was when they followed the religion. Problem is, you're making a false equivocation here. You're comparing Catholicism to Islam when they're two separate things.
Do you think that Islamic countries have become more kind of oppressive in terms of their usage of Islam?
I believe they
to
became
keep hold
horrible.
of the people from that time when, let's say, for example, Baghdad was, you know, a cultural capital of the world, which it was many years
They
ago.
were not following Islam as well. They were not following. They were not following Islam at the time as well, at the time of your father. There has been a long time. Look, the end of the Ottoman Empire was the end of following Islam. They started fighting each other, right? Which is something that the Quran is heavily against, right? The Prophet said, if you fight your Muslim brother, both of you are going to the fire.
Right.
The person who killed and the person who is killed are going to the fire. So the companions, they said, okay, we understand the one who killed is going to the fire. Why the one who is killed? He said he was trying to kill his brother too. You get the point?
I get the point.
So what I'm trying to say, sorry to interrupt you, what I'm trying to say is that if you look at the Islamic history, do not make a false equivocation with Christianity. If you look at the Islamic history, people were always choosing to be Muslims, choosing to follow the Islamic commandments, and that's what made them civilized, and that's what made them advanced. Anyways, I completely need to go, and I'll leave you with this fine gentleman. He can absolutely jump in the discussion anytime.
It's a gift for you.
So take a gift, leave it to go.
It's not Game of Thrones. It's not.
To me, honestly, guys, not to disrespect you, but I think about it in the same way as the Bible,
Yes.
which are fairy tales.
Can I tell you
Fairy tales
both?
written a few hundred years ago,
Can I tell you
which
both?
they've stayed in time.
Can I give you an interesting thing? I give you
To me,
interest.
it's the same as the Bible, which is like Harry Potter.
Do you know what you just said?
Yeah.
The Quran is fairy tales, you said. Do you know what the Quran says? Quran says you will say that. Is that interesting or not? It's interesting. So you just give it a read, man.
Have you ever read the... Of course
he would say that.
Why?
Heard of the library?
Why? The Bible
They're
doesn't
gonna
say that.
oh, if you don't read this, then, you know, you're going to go to hell and you haven't, you know, been converted.
But that's not what I said, though.
But that's what it's basically
It
saying.
says, those who disbelieve.
Say for this one last thing, okay?
Yeah, but I'll tell you the basic benefit you will get from reading the Quran.
Yeah.
Understanding my position.
Yeah.
If you want to live in harmony more with your society, don't you think it's a good idea to understand the beliefs of these people, right?
yeah.
One of the reasons I read the Bible is that. is to know the beliefs of these people, their mentality, what they think. It's easier to communicate and harmonize. I'm saying you have nothing to lose if you read the Quran. That's what I'm saying. But it's up to you. It's up to you.
As a construct, to be honest, if you think about the balances and all of the problems it causes, the issues it's causing in Palestine and Israel, the hatred between peoples who should be brothers and friends, I don't think it's worth it. And I think we would all be better off being like Norway, Sweden, being like Finland. Nobody's religious, nobody cares, everyone's friends.
Where do you have the highest rates of depression? Highest rates of depression, highest rates.
That's kind of a weather thing.
Highest rates of suicide in these countries that you just mentioned.
They don't at all. They have the student development. They have the most equality in the world.
But they have the highest depression.
Children eat better than anyone else on the planet.
Do you know?
Like they care about living. They don't care about books. They don't care about anyone else. They don't care about imaginary fairy tales. They don't care about just being here and living and having fun.
Do you know that they have the highest rates of depression and suicide?
They probably do, but that's a weather thing.
Weather now. Seriously, the weather.
It's like dark, like 18 hours.
Anyway, just give it a read, man. Just give it a read, yeah? Let's just talk to you. Yeah. Let's just talk to you. Let's just talk to you, man. I need to go. Your friend wins.
Yeah, but look at this, right?
He's answering what you said.
I'm answering everything. So you said a second ago it's easier to communicate and harmonise, right? I just took those words. You just said it in a sentence a minute ago. I said Muhammad said this in Speaker Square.
Oh, thank you. That's good.
No. But listen. So this website, this website will show you everything that's ever been written or ever will be said. Anything under 3,200 characters. Okay. Everything.
Okay.
Just because something's written down.
Can you check I'm a banana? Can you check I'm a banana in there? Does it say I'm a banana?
It'll probably say it a fucking load of times.
Let me try. I need to go. That's it. The conversation is done. I'm going.
Like, sorry.
I need to go.
It's a what? It's banana.
I need to go. You didn't find I'm a banana?
Here it is.
No, but that's a complete paragraph, yeah? That's not I am a banana, no.
It is, yeah, look there.
Okay, this is what?
Sorry, I typed it's too many times.
Okay, so it's not there, man. Look, I got you there, yeah?
No, you didn't. It's right there. Does anyone else want to look?
If we assume it's there, what does it prove?
It proves that anything written in a book doesn't really fucking matter because everything's written in this thing anyway. So if I want to prove a point, I can say it's written down in the library of Babel.
You said you're Irish, yeah? If it says there you're Irish, does it mean that's wrong?
Man, if I type in my name in there and say that I was talking to you today in Speaker Square, now this is supposed to be a unique kind of event, just happened by chance, but it's already written down in the thing. You know, it's called the Library of Babel. You can type in any sentence under 3,200 characters, and it's there. Okay, and you can pan through. It's a huge text file, right? Massive. Okay?
What I want to know is when you have everything written there, where is this written? Is it digital?
إذا أعجبك الفيديو لا تنسى الإعجاب والتعليق، ولكي يصلك كل جديد اشترك الآن.